Delivering feedback as a leader is really difficult, especially if you've got a staff member that can be quite challenging and gives you those brick wall statements every time you try to provide some sort of advice or guidance. So, what is it that you do if you do have a staff member that gets very defensive and doesn't actually listen or have curiosity around what it is that you're saying, actually just wants to deflect and just retort back, almost push back at you? It's hard, isn't it? Because being a leader, it's not for the faint-hearted. And a lot of the time, we don't have these skills to deal with those sorts of people. So I'm Leanne from Reboot Mindset Coaching, and I'm going to give you some tips right now that are going to help you make those interactions a little bit easier. And to make it a bit more specific, I've made a list here of the pushbacks that some of the leaders I've worked with just last week have given me and have wanted to know how to deal with. And they're things like, you might have had some of these yourself. That's not going to work. That's outside my pay grade. I'm not comfortable with that. I don't see why we need to change it. I wasn't told about that. That's just your perception. I'm just doing what I was told. So statements like that are difficult because how do you respond to it? It sort of reverts us back into an emotional response, doesn't it? Where we're just like, we don't know what to say. So generally, we will avoid giving these people feedback because we don't know how to handle it. Well, here's how you handle it. You get curious and you realize that to be a really good leader, you're going to ask more questions than you answer. But you got to be mindful of the questions that you ask. What they say to you is going to give you the exact answer that you need to request from them. So let me give you an example. That's not going to work. If you give somebody a role to do, or you give someone a job, or you want to make a change to how they do their work, and they say, that's not going to work, I don't think that's going to work. Resist the urge to do that whole internal, well, I'm the boss, I'm going to tell you what you have to do. I mean, we don't say it out loud, but we say it in our head, don't we? So what do you say? Well, what you're going to do is you're going to get really specific and you're going to ask them for more information, because here's the thing. The reason they're saying these things is so that the conversation ends and you don't know what to say, and then they can go back to work. You know what they're not going to want is for you to be interested and to know more. So if someone does say something to you like, I don't think that's going to work, what you want to say is, okay, specifically, which part do you think is not going to work? Because the key here is not to prove them wrong, not to prove you right, but actually to get curious and get them to really explain what they mean, and to also need to be accountable for what it is that they're saying. So, well, I don't think that's going to work. Okay, specifically, which part do you think isn't going to work? So what about a statement like, I'm not comfortable with that? You use the exact same approach. You will say, okay, I don't want you to be uncomfortable. So can you tell me specifically which part you're not comfortable with? Now, if they say, well, all of it, just say, okay, so let's break it down into steps so that you can tell me at each step which part of that makes you uncomfortable. So can you see how none of this is challenging? You're not actually saying, well, I'm in charge, do what I say. You're actually showing interest, and you're letting them know that if they're going to give you one of these brick wall statements, you're going to want to know more. Let's do another one. Well, I'm just doing what I was told. Your response would be exactly the same. Okay, excellent. Can you just clarify for me what it was that you were told to do? And get them to share. Because this is what's going to make your leadership journey so much easier. Curiosity, because when there's curiosity, it takes away the combat. And that's what you're having issues with, is the combat. So bring in curiosity instead of tensing up and making it personal. Get curious and use those words. Can you tell me what specifically about that you're uncomfortable with, you don't think will work? someone says to you, well, that's just your perception, you can actually say, okay, well, that could be true. So can you tell me specifically what you think the perception is that I'm actually having? They might say something like, well, I don't know, I can't get inside your head. And to which you're going to resist the urge to go cray cray. And you're going to say something along the lines of, yeah, you probably wouldn't want to get in there. It's not a real great place, but there's obviously something that you feel that I'm thinking of you. So, because when I say that to you, you say, well, that's just your perception. I'm just wondering what you're interpreting is my perception. What perception do you think it is that I'm having of you? Because all of this is just going to get clarity. Now, this is great for two reasons. Can you guess what they are? These two reasons. Reason one, it allows you to respond rather than to react, and allows you to respond with emotional intelligence rather than with emotions, which are not going to help anybody. Secondly, and this is the even bigger benefit, when you respond curiously and you want to know more without being offended, what are you going to be teaching your staff, do you think? You're going to be teaching them that if they ever make these statements, you're actually not going to see them as a brick wall. You're going to see them as a doorway for curiosity that you want to go through and you want to go through with them. So that's the great thing about doing curious questioning. And did you know that curious questioning is the way to get rid of bullying in your workplace? Have you ever tried to performance manage the bullies? It doesn't really work very well. What if you're performance managing the wrong people? What would happen if you taught your enablers, the people that are allowing the bullies and just going, oh, and tolerating it because they don't know what else to do? Imagine what would happen if you taught them the art of curious questioning. You would actually get rid of bullying in your workplace and there would be no fights. So easy, so easy. I'm happy to teach you that. Please reach out to me if you would like me to have a chat with you about that, or even train your leaders or even your staff how to do this. It'll have massive change in your workplace. You can contact me at rebootyourlife.com.au. Remember, when they put up a brick wall to you, you're not going to see it as a brick wall. You're going to reach for your ladder and put it up against it because you want to see what's on the other side, because you're going to get curious. Whatever their words are, use them back. I'm not comfortable. Can you tell me specifically what you're not comfortable with? Well, that's just your perception. Can you tell me specifically what you are thinking my perception is? Their words. You don't need to know what to say. And the whole time you get up in your head, you get flustered and you lose the ability to speak English. Don't worry about that. Use their words. Just get curious rather than getting confrontational. Much C word. I'm Leanne from Reboot Mindset Coaching, and you can find me at rebootyourlife.com.au.